Hey y'all, welcome back to the Teacher Marketing channel. In this video, I'm talking about something I haven't talked about on any of my channels before, and that is virtual assistant. Now, in TPT land, I see it called virtual assistants. Often in ed tech world, it's pretty much called a contractor. Whether it's a virtual assistant or a contractor you're looking for, there are a few things to keep in mind. And when I was at Nearpod, I managed about 10 contractors at one time. I really had to stay current on my processes and also making sure I was getting the most bang for my buck when it came to hiring people, because the goal is when you're hiring a virtual assistant or a contractor, you want to make sure that they're not giving you more work and you need to do a little bit of work up front in order for it to have that smooth running down the line and create some processes in case you need to swap anybody out. If you're new here, hi, my name's Amber. I have 10 years of marketing experience with 6 of those in ed tech marketing. I'm currently head of content strategy for a company called Classroom Champions, and I also consult for ed tech companies as well. If you want really detailed foundational marketing knowledge, did I toot my own horn enough? Is that a little aggressive? If teacher marketing advice from someone like me sounds interesting, then make sure you hit subscribe. Okay, let's get into it. The first thing I notice when working with teacherpreneurs is that they don't feel that their role or the things that they do can be outsourced because nobody can do it like them. And trust me, I am a perfectionist by nature, and if I really think back to when I was in my early younger career at Nearpod and they gave me the opportunity to hire some contractors, I kind of didn't want to, even though I knew I needed the help and I wanted the help and I asked for the help, I still wanted to control everything. Does that sound like you? I was just talking about this with the social media manager in ed tech that I'm coaching, is that there's a way for us to control the controllable. You absolutely can outsource your work. I'll create a freebie down below that you can link and click, which is a list of all the different things that you can potentially outsource to a contractor. Some of the ones that come to mind are the logistical ones. So for example, answering questions on TPT, answering your emails, making sure things are being responded to in a timely manner, doing your Pinterest pinning, writing your emails. There are so many things that I want you to think about, the things that are driving you the most money, that need the most creative strategy. That is where you should be spending your time. And the things that are still driving money, but that can probably be replicated, templatized, that's the things that you outsource. I was talking to someone a few weeks ago where they said, I just can't outsource my TPT FAQs because nobody is going to be able to speak like me. And while I agree that if you were to hire someone today, they will not be able to speak like you. However, if you create brand messaging docs and suggested messaging when certain things occur, people begin to learn your tone of voice. And trust me, if I can do it when I was working at Nearpod and Vocabulary, and also I'm helping us get that up and running for Classroom Champions, you can do it for your business, especially when a product like that has so many different personas, it has so many different people that it's talking to, and if a contractor responds to something in the wrong way, it is my job on the line. You better believe I'm figuring out how we can control the controllable. So I want you to think about, for instance, let's go back to the TPT FAQs. What are common questions that they have? Yes, they might be a little specific. However, customization. How would you naturally respond to customization? Create 3 to 5 examples how you would respond to this and add it in a doc. So then when the contractor is responding to these questions, they can have the doc open and they can reference it. And here's the thing, it's what we call a living doc. So as scenarios pop up, which you won't know until you hire somebody, then you edit the document. And over time, you will have this robust document where someone is able to really use that as their North Star and then stop asking you questions and they can just get that job done. The same is true for when outsourcing your emails. If you have a formula for how you want to create your emails, or if you need someone to take that on, you can meet with them, say once a month. You give them the creative strategy of what you like, you create a brand doc about here are the things we talk about, and they write the emails. And it can still go through a draft from you, but eventually the goal is to wean off the need for them to use you to then deploy that. When writing social copy at Nearpod, I felt like nobody would be able to get the brand voice like me. And I was very stingy with wanting to control everything, and that's just the truth of the matter. However, it was only until I realized, you know what, I need to create some documents on how we reply to certain things, on how we structure certain copy, and really think about the why. Notice I always talk about the why. why we do certain things, put that in a doc, and onboard people to the team where they feel confident and they can do it by themselves. The first 30 days, I'm heavily looking at copy. The second 30 days, so in the 60-day range, I'm looking at it slightly. And the goal is that eventually I don't even need to look at that copy anymore because they've got it in the bag. And then if I see something deployed that could probably be a small tweak, I may bring it up and say, hey, I noticed this. Let's next time do it like this. But the point is that you need to empower them to feel that ownership in what they're creating, even though it's your business, because then they'll feel more of that, oh yeah, like I'm definitely running with this, and they're excited, you know, because it's also still someone on your team that you want to empower and uplift, so then they grow as well. When hiring a VA, it's important to make sure that they know how to measure success, so then they can keep their eye on the prize in order for contract renewal. So for example, it should be really clearly stated out, here's what success looks like. If you hire someone to write your emails and your click-through rate goes down and your open rate goes down, then although they're doing the thing, they're not doing it successfully. And if you don't talk to them about what success means, then to be honest, it's not their fault. Even though they should know, it's you as their manager that needs to make sure that you have that clear set of expectations with them. Whenever you're reaching out to find a virtual assistant, it's important for you to already know what are the success metrics that you will use for this person. If you don't put it on the calendar and you don't set an expectation, then it's never going to happen. I talk a lot about looking at your analytics on this channel, and I also firmly believe that if you don't create a specific space in order to look at those analytics, it's never going to happen. If you meet with your contractor once a month so they can do a month's worth of content, how can you create the first 15 minutes where you're reviewing those analytics? Or it could be set in that contractor's scope of work that by the X date of the month, they have to recap analytics, and you can create a framework for them, and then they have to submit it to you by a certain date, and then you can discuss it on the call. I love being able to look at things before meetings because then that gives you time to digest the information, plan what you're going to say, and just like not have to think on the fly, because I feel like when something's shown to me right then and there, I don't give as good of a response as if I had time to actually marinate on the things that I'm thinking about. I encourage you to think about that in your own business as well, and making sure that you're getting the most out of that contractor that you're hiring for. Currently, in addition to all of the many things I do, I'm also a contractor for a social media agency. It's not a ton of hours a month, but it's just enough that keeps my foot in the door when it comes to fully focused social media creation and management. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because when I was onboarded into their agency, I truly appreciated the way they communicated with me about communication. Because there are 30 plus accounts that they're managing, they asked me, what's the turnaround time that we can expect if we ask you to get things scheduled into the book? And I really appreciated that because social media can move so fast, and they know I have a day job. They know a lot of times I'm doing things at night, and for them to ask me that, it opened the door of communication for me to say 36 hours was a good time for me personally to communicate when I can get that deliverable done, so then I can balance work and personal and all of that fun stuff. I'm sharing this with you because I encourage you to ask your contractor these type of things. Understand what their schedule is. Like, are they more likely to work on your stuff early in the morning or late at night if they have other jobs, or on the weekend? This will allow you to be proactive in order to give certain things to them in advance. If there's something that you have an idea that you want to share with them, you don't want to share it in a way where then it has to wait for the following week. And so that is something, is like communication. Also, how do they want to be communicated to? Do they prefer email? Or for instance, the agency that I contract for, they use Discord. And although I'm used to Slack, that is the platform that they use, and they got me set up and they communicated to me that that's what they used for their organization and communication. I was super impressed by how they gave me 3 meetings of onboarding in order to show me the resources they use, made sure I really understood where to go for things, how to find things, things. I honestly felt they went over detailed in a sense because it was so good. That said, you put the work up front to save yourself time later. Now when they give stuff to me, it's like, got it, and I don't have to ask them any questions. That's amazing for the agency because they've truly offboarded something to me. And that's how it should work, right? You give somebody something to do a job and then it's done. For example, for Classroom Champions, I'm hiring Basic Life of Brooke in order to do some designs for the company, and I know she's got it. I onboarded her, I had a conversation with her, she's gonna create something beautiful, and then we'll have a couple of reiterations, and then we're good to go. That is the purpose of being able to do more. Now I'm able to focus on all of these other things while she's doing this one thing, and that is so powerful because now you have multiple projects working in tandem with you spending your creative energy where it matters most, and the experts can do their thing like Brooke, and the contractors can help you rinse and repeat so then you can focus on the other things. When you're hiring a virtual assistant, it's also important to think about the fact that they will not be your virtual assistant forever. And although a lot of times in TPT land and teacher land, teachers are teachers for a very long time, in contracting roles, it's temporary. So it's important for you to think about, how are you sharing passwords with this person? How are you sharing documents with this person? Do you give them one Google Doc, or do you give them a specific access to whatever technology you're using? That way you can relinquish it whenever that temporary time does indeed come to an end. One of the things I like to use is 1Password. It creates sharing vaults, so then you can create custom passwords for people and then remove the vault and change all of the passwords once that partnership does come to an end. One of the things I like to use is 1Password. It's a great way to keep all of your passwords in one place. It's encrypted, and you can give someone access to one vault with only specific passwords that they can use, so then it makes it easier down the line. I recommend this if you're working with someone that's working through a lot of different pieces of tech. If not, then you don't need that many pieces of tech. You can create just a temporary password if they're logging into just one piece of tech, say Flowdesk or MailChimp, Kajabi, whatever it is you're using. Now let's talk about pricing, and you're not gonna like my answer because I'm going to be very ambiguous, so don't get mad at me, but at least I'm calling myself out early on. Now, while I definitely believe you should pay people what they're worth, I also strongly believe that the dollar amount should match the quality of the work being provided. So for example, if contractors don't have a lot of experience, then it's hard for me to justify paying them a bigger dollar amount if I haven't seen their quality of work and I haven't seen what they've done. This is important for you to figure out what your sweet spot is and what you're willing to spend. If you're outsourcing your Pinterest pins or your emails or your blog writing, I want you to think about how much time it actually takes you to do that task. Exactly the way you're hiring them to do it, how much time would it take you to do that? Then I want you to calculate what your hourly rate is. And if it's less than your hourly rate and it's still gonna drive revenue in some way, then I encourage you to think about that whenever you're deciding to press hire or not. Now, if it's something that you're hiring to help with your overall strategy or something technical like your website, that is going to cost a lot more because that is something that cannot be rinsed and repeated. It takes somebody with experience, it takes somebody that knows how to do those technical things in order to see it through. If I was just being contracted to take some pictures, I'm not a major photographer by any ways, my hourly rate would be a lot lower than when I consult for marketing strategy for ed tech companies, because what I'm providing, the value that I'm providing is just completely different. Marketing strategy is going to take me a ton of time to really think through and see through the product as opposed to just snapping a picture on my cell phone. It's just not the same. So while I'm not going to give you a dollar amount for hiring a virtual assistant, I do want you to think about your hourly rate, how much it would actually cost you then in your hourly rate to do that versus if you were to spend that time creating a new product to make more money and create more product lines. Hiring a virtual assistant can be so scary at first because you're relinquishing that control and putting it in the hands of somebody else. But I promise you that if you set up guide docs with screenshots so then you can really show them how to do the thing, if you onboard them appropriately, then they're going to save you so much time down the road, and that's only if you onboard them correct. The goal is that they're supposed to be able to run on their own with you providing overarching strategies so you can focus on these other things. It can be a really beautiful experience for you to be able to do more more. And a lot of times when you see what the dollar amount is and you see what you're able to provide when you can focus on the things you want to focus on, it is truly, truly magical. If you're thinking about hiring a virtual assistant, while I don't do virtual assistant work for teacherpreneurs, I'm happy to help you with your overarching strategy and get you set up in that way. So feel free to drop a comment below if you have a virtual assistant, if you're thinking about it, and any questions that I can support you with. If you like this type of content, please be sure to like it and subscribe so you never miss a teacher marketing video with me again. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, y'all.